McKee, West Rucker, Go Vols 24/7 here inside of Tennessee Baseball's batting cages at Lindsey Nelson Stadium following Tennessee's midweek win over Western Carolina. A 12-4 win, and Tennessee now 11-0 in midweek games. And we'll touch quickly on that before we talk about some more pressing topics. Not too great out of the gates there. Tony Vitello alluded to that when we just spoke to him a moment ago. But Kobe Backus earning another opportunity and hitting a solo home run there to spark what was a big fifth inning that proved to be the difference in the game.
Yeah, Backus is a guy who, Tennessee fans, obviously he's from East Tennessee. People want to see him out there. And when they do see him, he has success. So people keep wanting to see him in the lineup. And the problem is, I don't think he's necessarily as good as the options that they have out there, but he is a good baseball player and a baseball player who would get a lot more reps at a lot of places, even in the Southeastern Conference. He just happens to play at Tennessee, and it's really, really hard. I mean, look at guys across the country who are starting other places who weren't playing a lot here, and it's a hard place to get minutes, or get reps, I should say. What sport am I talking about? But he's a guy who, last year he didn't even travel, really. He didn't play. It's like, well, surely he was going to transfer, and he didn't. He stayed, he fought for his spot, he got on the roster, and here he is. It's a cool story.
Yeah, and there's some outfielders right now that are trying to find their way at the plate consistently. And this weekend against Missouri, not to take them too lightly, but then again, we're not playing, so I guess we're allowed to
we can say what we want.
What we can say and look down on Missouri, but maybe a good opportunity to give him an opportunity in SEC play. So something to keep an eye on as you move forward. Kobe Backus takes advantage of his opportunity in the lineup today, making his first career start. We should add Billy Amick was the driving force there, especially with the 3-run home run late to make it 12-4. But had a 2-run homer early in the game in which he really got a hold of. Had a 2-run single with the bases loaded after the Backus homer that gave Tennessee the lead. And then the 3-run homer, as I already mentioned, to round it out, drove in 7 runs. Wasn't his best weekend at the plate at Kentucky, baseball being baseball more than anything, but good as you move forward into the back half of SEC play. He works his way back from the appendix thing to see him get going.
Yeah, I mean, Billy Amick's a guy who mentality-wise you just never worry about. I mean, if you know anything about the dude and his family, and there are people who know more about him than I do, but knowing what I know about them, they just go about their business. They work, right? I mean, that's who they do. And his personality as a player, he could go 0 for 4. He's not going to take that to the next day. He's just not he's like, oh, I'm going to show up and play. Like, he doesn't take hitting too scientifically. He doesn't worry too much about what he considers the small thing. He wants to go out there and compete and win and play. And he wanted to play better than he did over the weekend. But that's going to happen in baseball. He still was okay. He just wasn't Billy Amick. Well, look how he responded. I mean, he's just a guy that I don't care what kind of slump he's in. I want him in the lineup every day because he can always go do what he just did.
Yeah. Elsewhere, up and down the lineup, Kavares Tears hits another home run, 3-run homer. That was a laser the opposite way to left center, the deepest part of the ballpark. Dean Curley had an RBI ground out for the first run of the game. Blake Burke, a 2-out single before Amick's homer to extend his hitting streak to ho-hum 31 games, continuing to set a new program record. So an all right day at the plate against some midweek competition. Maybe not the best of starts offensively. Again, Tony alluded to that. But on the mound, had a couple of freshman moments there. Dylan Lloyd got off to a really nice start and then ran into a bit of trouble. Brady Robertson comes in and plunks the guy that he's facing, and he gets pulled. And then after that, you had a lot of guys like Andrew Binke bounce back, and then Marcus Phillips continue to build on what he did at Kentucky.
Yeah, and all that was important because you talk about it only being 1 day difference when you start a series on Thursday and not Friday. But if you're a professional team, maybe that's not the big. When you're a college team and you get into this routine and this rhythm and you pitch as a starter like every so many days, and your bullpen, no matter how much you use a guy on Sunday, you can always kind of rest on Tuesday, and then you got a few more days, and it's not like that. You're bumping everything up a day. So they needed to get more innings out of Lloyd today, and they did, and he was really good for most of his outing. And then it kind of fell apart there, but that's still a lot more good than bad for him. And then other guys needed to go out there. You're like, why is Binke still in the game? Why is Phillips still in the game? Well, because they were the fresher arms.
When they needed to work, they faced. I guess Binke faced 3 and Phillips faced 1.
Yeah, they were the freshest arms of that kind of like the main rotation or whatever guys that were available today. So you needed to stretch them out a little bit. So yeah, I mean, ideally they would have liked Robertson to go a little bit deeper, but they weren't. It was a tight game at that point. They weren't going to mess around. And it's what you got. It takes a village, man. Like, you got to different horses for courses. You have to go out there and do what you can with what you got. And they could have used Stamos tonight. Maybe he got loose a couple times, but better to have him, in 2 days.
Yeah, ready for Thursday. And like you mentioned, at that point in time when the freshmen were in, it was a tight game. And that's why you go to Binky and you go to Phillips. I think they would have pitched anyways, but that's maybe why you ride them.
Yeah, and look around the
moment.
country, right? I mean, look at midweek games all over the place. Like every week, Wake Forest lost another one this week. Midweek ranked teams, multiple ones go down every week. What Tennessee does in midweeks, it's not normal. Like at some point, Tennessee's going to lose a midweek game or two or here or there, in the next couple of years, and people are going to start freaking out when they're no, this is normally what happens. What these guys do, it's not normal.
Yeah, and you don't want to lose them often, but Tennessee is 64-6 in midweek games since the start of the 2019 season. On top of being 11-0 this season, that's not normal. No. You usually drop one or two over the course of the season, as we saw that 2022 team do against Tennessee Tech over at Smoky Stadium. But quickly before we get out of here, I do want to mention Matthew Dallas and J.J. Garcia closing out the game with a really nice 8th and 9th inning on the mound.
Yeah, and for Dallas, I've said several times, I think he's going to be really good. I'm not the only one who says that, right? The guy was a big prospect. They were happy to get him here. Right. They thought they might lose him to the draft. He didn't go because the signing bonus may have been too high. Worked out great for Tennessee. He just wasn't physically kind of ready to go be his best at the beginning of the season. And I still think he's still not physically at his best. I think he's got more velo in that arm. He's going to be really good. Yep. But just it's good to get him going a little bit. And then, J.J. Garcia, there's been times throughout the past couple of years where you're like, is the light ever going to come on for him? Because you can see the live arm. You can see that he's got some stuff. Results haven't been there. But that's a few kind of productive outings in a row for him. And, hey, you keep doing that in midweeks, you get yourself in the mix. You saw what happened in Lexington. They were a short hair away from having to go deeper into that pen, and that happens.
No doubt about it. We've got plenty of coverage of Tennessee's midweek win over Western Carolina up at the site at GoVols247.com. It's a quick turnaround, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We will be here throughout the weekend, although we have a wedding to go to on Friday. We'll discuss that at a later date, but we will still have plenty of coverage at GoVols247 all weekend long as Tennessee takes on Missouri. He's Wes Rucker. I'm Ben McKee.